What's up, guys? This is your host, Danny Baylor, Danny Cakes, and you are listening to the Immeasurably More podcast. Welcome back, you guys. This is Danny, and you're listening to the Immeasurably More podcast. I'm so grateful that you are here, and we are 22 episodes strong on this episode. So just real quick, I always want to remind you to check out my previous episodes. My last one, I shared about how we can gain control of our emotions and our feelings, how we can recognize them, and really the power that they have to dictate our attitude towards our days, our lives, our future potentially. So I'm super excited to share that with you, that insight that I've been gaining, and I feel like it's kind of going to trickle into today's even. So go ahead and check out episode 21. And so it's so funny because I feel like every week, every episode, I'm like, this is the most impactful episode yet. Like, this is the one. Like, this is like, this is just it. This is what I was made for. But you guys, truly, I know I say that every time, but I just feel like with this one, if I'm being honest, like, this was the episode that, like, I'm here for. Like, I feel like I wake up with purpose every single day, and this is like my heart, and I'm going to do my best to keep it together and get my words out because I really feel like God put this word in my heart. He put on my heart to talk about settling and the idea of settling, and I didn't expect it to hit me as hard as it did today when I'm reading through some ideas and notes and how I want to share and what He wants to say through me. And so, you know, maybe you're going to go into this episode and you're going to reference about, are you settling in your business? Are you settling in your friendships, in your relationship, where you live, your current career, whatever that is, you guys, whatever is your life that you're like feeling held back, you want more, but you realize you're settling. And for me, I feel like there have been times where I was all of the above, you know, it's all of those things for me. And so I really want to share with you guys, you know, why I'm saying this is such a significant episode. So quick little backstory, just a few months before I started my business, I was talking to a friend on social media. I responded to her story because somebody was body shaming her, and we were just going back and forth how inappropriate it was, and just the hate. And I just remember having this feeling like explaining to her, you know, before all of this version of me evolved, you guys, this is the idea that I had in my heart. And I was like, you know, I just want like a platform. Like I don't even know what that looks like. I can't even picture it, but I just want like this opportunity to speak. Like mostly my heart's for women. I mean, I'm for everybody, but like I know that God has called me to lead women, and I just wanted the opportunity so bad. And so it's just crazy that this, you know, this is the platform, this is the broadcast, this is where my heart's coming into play. And like this idea, this hope, this dream is like coming into fruition right now, and it's this episode, you guys. And I thought to myself, like, this is it. Like, this is the episode. This is what I prayed for, was specifically about, you know, this and settling and that place in my life and how it developed me and how I walked away from it and the power that I have within myself because I made those choices to no longer settle. And I thought, you know, God has given me this opportunity. He's given me, you know, this chance to share my voice and my heart. And it's like, if I had the chance, what would I say to those people? What would I say to those women? What would I say to the old me? And it's something I talk about all the time, you guys. This is literally why I get up out of bed every single day. And I'm like, God forbid I will hold back out of fear to not put myself out there and share what I've learned to find an old version of Danny. Ugh. And so, you know, that version of me that was okay settling, that accepted settling and not fully understanding the potential that I had for my life and my heart and my voice and my future. And there was always this small idea in the back of my mind, you guys, literally for as long as I can remember. I think since I was a kid, I was like, I just want to make an impact. I want to do something that's significant. And so now that I'm sitting here and I've gone through all of that and I have the opportunity, I think like, what would I have said? Like, what would I have told that version of me sooner? Because people in my life were kind of hinting at it like, hey, do you think this is the right relationship that you should be in? Do you think that you're like made for more? You know, you're so wise beyond your years and this is just kind of where you're at. And I was like, okay, yeah, but I didn't even know how to step out of that. And so I want to talk to you guys about settling. I want to talk about my story a little bit, some different aspects, like I said, business, relationship. And when I'm thinking about this topic, I was like, okay, I think I should look up the definition of the word settle. And there are a lot of definitions to this word I did not know. And I'm going to share with you a couple ones that really resonated with me. And to my surprise, you guys, I didn't even expect the impact. And so I have 4 I'm going to share with you what it says about settling and how I'm going to share with you what I think we should do next instead. And so this is what I found. Number 1, it says to accept or agree to something that one considers to be less than satisfactory. And that was kind of the idea, the first initial thought I was going for was like, okay, we're settling. Like that's what we typically think of when we think of the word settle. Like we're accepting this. Like we're agreeing that this is less than what we want and we're going to just be here because we don't know what to do. We don't know how to get out of it. And this is what we've been told our whole life to believe or we feel worthy of, right? That acceptance. Number 2, I wrote down, make it comfortable in a place or position. And so again, you're settling, you're comfortable there. Like this is where I'm accepting to stay right now, and there's a part of it that I'm comfortable with, right? And so I'm going to kind of go into how that relates to our comfort zone. And number 3, it said to talk about like settling down, right? And it says become quieter. And this is when it started to like really strike me, you guys, and like just really just put me back in this place of just hurt. I did not expect to read a definition and be put right back in the old like place that I used to be in my mindset and how miserable I was because I realized that like there was a part of me that was settling and I was becoming quieter. And number 4, which is probably the worst one, it says to gradually sink down under its own weight. You guys, this is not okay. Like I'm not okay with this. I was not okay, that version of me, because I was all of these things. And, I'm thinking about this episode and I'm like, okay, God, like we're going to crush this one. Like I'm prayerful about it. We're going to talk about settling and how to rise them up. And I'm going to go CrossFit coach on them. And I read these definitions and I'm just so taken back. And I feel like God wanted to remind me of this hurt because not because I want to like remember that and be in that place, but I want to remember like, hey, there's a reason why we're not there anymore because it was not okay. And I didn't expect a description to bring me back right into that moment, such a deep place. And I'm hurt because I was there. And yeah, I'm hurt and I'm emotional because I'm so grateful that I'm out of it. But I'm also super hurt. I'm mostly hurt, you guys, because like I never wanted to be that girl. I never thought that I would become that girl. And that girl meaning that there are more of those girls. There's more people who had my mindset and felt like they were made for more and they just felt like they were stuck. And, and so in reference to those last few episodes, I've been talking about emotion and how if we allow emotion in our lives and to play a role, how it can affect our day, like I said, we have to recognize that we choose emotion as something that doesn't break you, but how emotion in the right position can fuel your why. And this is my why. And I will never go back there, and I will always put in all the effort that I have to teach others what it is I have learned. It was in my bones, you guys, to like always want more, to seek more. And if we are not growing, we are settling. And if we're settling, essentially you're moving backwards. And that's exactly how I felt. I just internalized it all. And I remember having that conversation with myself. There was multiple. This is months before my business, months before my breakup. It just happened to all be the same time. And I remember thinking like, okay, this is where I live. This is my relationship. I remember if you guys have listened to my very first episode about what Immeasurably More was, and I believe it's that first episode, and I talk about how I watched this wedding video, and it was about, a couple who both served Jesus. They loved the Lord. They were seeking, and their whole wedding was like surrounded about that. And I watched it thinking like, this is everything I've ever wanted. And I'm not going to have that with the person that I have right now. And this is the person I thought I was going to be with. And I literally could not figure out a way out. I decided for myself that that's where I was going to be. And it was the most awful, it was a terrifying conversation to accept. And so that's kind of what I want to share first, right? So we're going to go through those definitions, like I said. I'm going to break them down. And I'm going to redirect you into the path where you belong. So number 1, I said, accept or agree to something that one considers to be less than satisfactory. typical, right? We're stagnant, we're settling, even though we don't like it. I didn't like that. I was bawling watching that video. I remember just like driving to work, you guys, and I'm thinking like, I was just feeling depressed. I remember like texting my boyfriend at the time being like, hey, can you, like, even though I don't really know how much he prayed, but I was like, can you pray for me? Because like something's not right. Like I was not okay, you guys. And I was accepting in that situation because I was in it for so long that like, okay, this is just my life and this is what I have to deal with. And I want to introduce this idea that you guys, number one, why I want to just first and foremost is acceptance. We have to start here because I need you to know, and maybe this might come off harsh, and you guys, I'm saying all of this with so much grace because I've been there, right? But I'm saying I need you to know this because you are accepting where you are at. You're accepting your job. You're accepting your relationship. You are giving permission to people, the way they treat you and how they speak into you. We tolerate it, right? I tolerated it. And that's why I'm passionate. That's why I'm hurt. That's why I'm sad, because I'm like, dude, why did I let that go on for so long? Like, I had such a bigger calling on my life, and I accepted that because I wanted somebody else's acceptance, right? The only person I need to be gaining approval of is God. And I fully feel like I'm walking in that right now. So we have a choice. You have a choice. You are choosing to stay, to be in a place where you are unsatisfied. Okay, I understand there's like a lot of weight to that. And again, I've been there. But it's also very hard for me to, hear people's stories and why they're unhappy. And there's people who are close to me, and I feel like I have the same conversations with them. And I'm like, if you aren't doing anything to change your situation, you're obviously okay with that. You're obviously accepting it to a certain extent. And so, you guys, we have to choose that we are worthy of more. Why shouldn't you be? Wherever you settle is where you believe that you belong. In a sense. And I'm not saying that's necessarily your fault, but I want you to start being aware of it. And so start to believe that you belong elsewhere, that you belong somewhere better, that you belong deserving more. And a lot of that had to do with who I was surrounding myself with, even if they were someone I was dating or a close friend or a coworker or something. I allowed them to speak those things into me and speak like, well, this is just kind of where you should be. And this is because typically, you guys, what they speak to us is what they're comfortable with. And we're stuck in their comfort zones. And so we need to rewire how we're thinking, what we're worthy of, and where we actually should be at in life, because why not? I want you to ask yourself that over and over. And I feel like God's been putting this in my heart. He's like, Danny, why should it not be you? Why should you not be leveled up? Why should you not have more success? Why should your voice not go further? Why not you? I was guilty of this, you guys. Like, I accepted it. And like I said, I remember that conversation I had with myself, and it made me sick. I felt stuck. I was like, this is not as good as it gets. Your situation is not as good as it gets. So next, I want to share with you guys, number 2, it said, make comfortable, because this is a big one, right? Making comfortable in a place or position. Otherwise, like I described as your comfort zone. When you're staying here, you're not moving, you're immobile, you are definitely not growing. And like, again, if we're not growing, we're moving backwards. I could not relate to that more, you guys. I held back so much about who I was, and because I was unaccepted by those people that I chose to associate with. And before I knew it, I was conforming to their patterns of their world, and I was losing myself. And I was hiding myself. I was hiding my morals. I was hiding my beliefs. I felt like I couldn't speak up. The things that made me me, the things that I should have boldly stood up for. And instead I was in a place where I was too uncomfortable to stand up for myself, that I was fading. And the people who had influenced and encouraged me to stay in my comfort zone were people's lives who I actually did not want. And so you ask yourself that. If you're mostly concerned about, you're like, hey, I'd say that's probably like one of the top reasons why we stay in our comfort zone, because we're like, I don't want to get judged, and I don't want somebody to look at me differently. Okay, those people that are judging you or are uncomfortable with you stepping out of their comfort zone, right? Do you want their life? Do you want their relationship? Do you want their success? Because the people who want happiness and joy for you are going to tell you to go and do the thing, to get out of your comfort zone, to be better, to be more, to have more. So rethink about the people that you're surrounding yourself with. And you guys, I am saying this again with grace, because when I started my business, a month later, I did my breakup, right? And my breakup, to be in detail, my boyfriend, his parents owned our gym that we worked at. We were both coaches there. That was my life. Like, I lived in a small town, and that was my whole community. When I cut that off, I started a clean slate. Like, I realized I was letting go of so much more, but the idea of being alone and starting new was so much more relieving than being surrounded and stuck in the lies and in the conversation among everybody else that I should just stay where I was at. Like that the alternative was not better, and it wasn't. I realized I had to make some changes for short term, right? For a long term, a short term sacrifice for a long term reward. That was my vision for it, and I just felt like God's like, this has gone far enough. Like, this is not where you belong. We're out of your comfort zone. Like, you don't live in your comfort zone, right? And so you guys being in your comfort zone, it's selfish. I've realized it's so selfish for me to stay. What makes me feel good, what makes me feel comfortable as a Christian, whatever. It also, one of my favorite leaders in my business, she says, when you're in your comfort zone, it keeps your talents a secret, right? I didn't even tap into the idea that I had a voice to say anything or share my creativity because people made me feel like I shouldn't. And it was too much. And I was stepping out to do things that they never saw themselves being able to do. And so they should have just held me back. Being in your comfort zone is boring, right? I don't know about you guys, but that was something I was always craving. I was like, hey, what's next? What's the next thing? Like, what's the next level? What's the better salon? Like, maybe I'll go to LA one day. Like, I was always wanting more because God created, he wired me to think like, hey, when you master something, like, you're on to the next. And if you keep doing the same thing all the time, you're going to get bored. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. But I feel like I couldn't stand being in the same place for a long time. You guys, your comfort zone is a place where the devil loves for you to be. He loves for you to be to lose your confidence, right? To feel like you have no calling, to feel like you're unaccepted, to feel like you're foolish for wanting more, to feel like you're going to be judged. He loves to keep you in your comfort zone. So if that's not something that fuels you yourself, then I feel like you got to rethink it. Okay, your comfort zone is something that you have to do before you're ready, right? Because you're never going to be ready. I love saying this. I've said this in previous podcasts. Whatever you have to decide to let go of, people's opinions or making a choice or making a change, there's never going to be a point where you're ready to do it. And if you don't tackle it right now, you're always going to be under the power of all of those things, right? So do it before you're ready. There's never going to be a perfect time. Welcome to reality. And like I said, your comfort zone, you guys, it serves no one. You don't have to live there any longer. And it's actually so ironic to me because I hate my comfort zone, right? We call it a comfort zone, but I was actually more afraid of the idea of what would happen when I left it. If I hadn't left it, right? If I had remained in my comfort zone, like, I was miserable. I was slowly becoming depressed. And God's like, because you don't belong here. Like, you didn't belong in this place. And so, yes, there's a part of it that's like, I think that we call it comfort because it's what we know, right? And so there's something that feels safe about what we know, but actually I hated that. And I was like, okay, I'd rather take a risk to have something that I love than be comfortable in something that I just know because this is familiar. That serves no one. Doesn't serve me or anybody else for that matter. Number 3, this is the one that hit so hard, you guys. This is unacceptable. It says becoming quieter. And I feel like that hit me personally because I know that, like, my voice now is my heart and is my skill and my talent and I'm assuming, like, what I see it as my gateway for people to experience the Holy Spirit. And I've said this before too, but it's like, do you know that your greatest insecurity is likely the one thing that God has actually called you to be great in, to give him glory, to feel like you belong? Because if it was something that you felt confident about, then you would run with it, right? If I felt confident in my voice my whole life, I would have said whatever I needed to say. I wouldn't have let people's opinions keep me down. I would have been bolder about my faith. I would have been more open about my opinions and what I feel is righteous. And instead, the enemy has used people my entire life, my loved ones, my family, my friends, enemy, whatever, people to always make me feel like I couldn't even speak. Even like I said, when I was talking about starting this podcast, I was like, the devil's like, who do you think you are, Danielle? Like, you say like too much, or you're going to stutter, or no one's going to take you seriously, or you're going to ramble in circles. And I almost didn't even start this podcast because of that, because he's like, hey, remember how hurt you've been in the past because you thought that you had a voice? What is it that what's keeping you, what are you keeping quiet, right? So I accepted silence over my voice So what are the things that like is God calling you to? That's your quiet. That's keeping you from moving forward, right? From glorifying God, from doing more. What is that for you right now? And you guys, it's like when we start accepting less than God's best, right? Like what's not satisfying, we remain where we are uncomfortably, right? Next, we lost our voice. We lose sight of our calling, what sets us apart. And before we know it, number 4, we're gradually sinking down under our own weight. This definition alone sank my heart. I couldn't even describe it better myself. There was nothing that made more sense or hit me deeper than the idea that I was sinking, that I was becoming smaller because I was so afraid of doing something different and because settling took over me. I was quiet. I was sinking. I was feeling insignificant. I was losing myself. And I remember probably like a month into the breakup, a couple months in my business, and people would ask me, they're like, Danny, how'd you do it? How'd you finally walk away? Like, how'd you break away? Because, it was kind of irritating because I'm like, everybody else from the outside could see how toxic everything was, but they took this long until I walked away to say something and agree with me. But bless them, it's okay. I need to do this for myself. But I just got to a point where I was like, you guys, like, I just couldn't even take it. I was just so fed up. I was just at a breaking point where I'm like, there's a choice. And maybe you're not at that point just yet where you're ready to make that decision. But I pray that it makes you so uncomfortable, the idea of settling, the idea of being quiet, the idea of sinking, the idea of staying in your comfort zone and accepting where you're at, because God is saying he's not done. He's not saying you're going to sink. He's saying it's time to get up. It's time to rise up. And he has the power to raise you up. You guys, there are decisions I made, and I'm saying it starts with one step. Like he raised me up. He put me back on my feet one step at a time. I made a decision to walk away. I made a decision to pursue my business. I made a decision to choose myself. And it was terrifying. That was my biggest fear, was like, what is next? But at that point, like I'm saying, settling was not even an option anymore. I was drowning in the idea of settling. And so I was like, I would rather step out in faith because there was just enough relief in me. There was just enough of a desire in me to be more and do more and have vision for what was next, that I didn't want to remain where I was. And God revealed to me every single step of the way, you guys. And he worked in me in ways I didn't even know that were possible, in moments that should have broken me in a minute, in a second. And I was strong and I was firm because I made a decision and I was seeking him through all of it. Like I said, it was so scary. Yes, for months, like months into, I remember like 6 months into the breakup, and I was like, this is why people don't break up, because it's awful. It was so hard. There were so many things that I could have people supporting me, but it was my emotion. It was my heart. It was everything that I had to deal with and make a decision to move forward. And I remember even like a year into it, I was like, okay, God, I stepped away from this. I'm building this business. And there's part of me that still feels alone. There's part of me that's uncomfortable. And I walked away from all of that hurt, and I'm still not where I want to be. I don't know your time frame. But I know, you guys, that moving forward in pain sure as hell is better than the alternative of the pain of settling. Every day I look at my life, I look at my relationship, I look at where I live, and I've never been more grateful to be like, God, thank you for rescuing me, for bringing me into the light, for allowing me to no longer settle where I was, because you called me for so much more. And I remember a month into it, I was having a conversation with one of my friends, and she was telling me about a similar situation, and I'm just sitting there thinking, God, who am I? What could you possibly do with me? Not with me or for me or whatever, but I can't even picture that. It says God's going to do immeasurably more than all you could ever imagine. I could not even imagine that. I was okay, he's going to take care of me. He's going to give me like just enough. No, you guys, it says immeasurably more than you could ever imagine. And so it's just about being willing and taking a step. Take one step into that. So where are you settling? Is it your status in your business? Is it your relationship? Is it your friendships? Is it where you live? Is it your current career? Because everyone says that this is the idea. You should do 9 to 5 and you should have gone to a 4-year college or all the things. And it's like, but you have something within you that says that you were supposed to do something different, that you were supposed to do something more. And if you feel like you're like me, because a couple of years into it, I'm like, man, I wasted time. I made the wrong decision. Okay, well, God, what I made a mistake in, God is now using for glory. I have so much more understanding of other people and I can connect with them. I can give them grace. I know how to approach them because I know how sensitive that conversation was for me. God is going to use for good what the enemy intended for evil. So it's not too late to change your mind. It's not too late to make a new decision. It's not too late to stop settling. But from now on, we're not choosing it. We're not accepting it. We're stepping out in faith, because if God is for us, you guys, who can be against us? If you are supposed to step out, if I was supposed to step out of that relationship and start this business and move forward, nothing has stopped me. Nothing got in my way. God made a way. I want you to write that down. If you're taking notes or something, like, God will make a way for you when you step out in faith and when you're obedient and when you refuse to settle. And we're not staying quiet. We're rising up and we're moving forward because you are called to immeasurably more. Not just me, you guys. He's called all of us. And he said to me, there's so much more than you could ever imagine. And it starts right now. But it starts with you making a choice. It starts with you accepting that you're no longer accepting settling. And like I said, you guys, if you have the slightest desire for more, do everything in your power to chase it. That's not just a coincidence. God does not place an idea or desire in your heart if he doesn't intend to fulfill it. It says he's going to bring it to completion. So I challenge you guys, take one step. What is that step? Maybe it's acknowledging it. Maybe it's just making the decision that you're not going to accept it anymore, that you're made for more, that you're worthy of more. Whatever God's been putting on your heart through this whole episode, write it down, you guys. Make declarations over it. Decide that you're going in the other direction. Take one step towards what immeasurably more looks like for you. Because why not you? You have control. You have a choice. So start visualizing it. Start accepting that you're worthy of it, what should be, and decide that it's for you. And you guys, I love connecting with you. So if there's something about this episode that impacted you, or you have any questions or prayer requests, if you relate to my story, of course, I love to pray with you and just hear how you're connecting with me. So you can always message me on Instagram. Probably going to get back to you best on my Danny Cakes Instagram, DANNNI Cakes. Or you can contact me, follow me at immeasurably.more.podcast. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe, you guys. The more that you do that, the more that people get to be enlightened by my heart. So that would mean the world to me if you would go ahead and share that. And so on this next episode, you guys, I'm going to bring back your very favorite guest, Anissa Carroll. I'm so excited to chat it up with her again. And so I will leave you guys with this. Ephesians 3:16-20. I pray that out of his glorious riches that he may strengthen you with power through his Spirit in your inner being, so that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith. And I pray that you, being rooted and established in love, may have power together with all the Lord's holy people to grasp how wide and long and high and deep is the love of Christ, and to know that this love surpasses knowledge, that you may be filled to the measure of all the fullness of God. Now, to him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to his power that is at work within us.